Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and welcome to our Andor Episode 7 titled Announcement Review / Breakdown. Things that you might have missed throughout this episode here as well, but it's mainly just going to be us talking about overall thoughts and opinions here about this episode. Clearly there's going to be some spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen the episode, go watch it and come back to this video because it was pretty good. It's definitely up there. It's rather one of my higher ranking episodes for the Andor show. I'm gonna have to put it at like number 3, maybe number 2, with episode 3 and episode 6, the previous episode, being the best episodes. The entirety of the beginning of this episode was honestly quite slow, and I mean that's to be kind of expected after you have a climatic episode such as episode 6, being the third installment of that second arc that we have here in season 1 of the show, of the attack on the garrison and how they took the payroll credits and everything like that. It's meant to be a little bit more toned down rather in those comparisons there, and so it definitely does do a little bit of that. But towards the end of the episode, I think the pacing picks up a lot more than it really should have. I think it was a little too fast paced, and I think they should have spent a little bit more time on everything that went on at the end of the episode there, with him getting sentenced to 6 years in Imperial prison. It's going to be more than interesting to see how that's going to play into episode 8, episode 9, and episode 10 as we're picking back up with those arc episodes. It's also going to be very interesting seeing the fact that, well, he was sentenced to 6 years, and within the next 5 years of the Star Wars timeline are the events of the Rogue One movie, so he's definitely going to have no other option but to simply break out of this Imperial imprisonment here, and it's going to be very interesting, I think, to see that with the next arc. All I'm hoping is that that isn't like the entirety focus, so to speak, here of like these next 3 episodes. I hope that they kind of like, I guess, stray away from that a little bit. Not that I want them to rush over it or anything like that, but I don't feel like it's necessary to have an entire 3-episode arc of, you know, Andor sitting around in an Imperial prison and then like breaking out. Like, I don't think that would take that long for them to really like tell about that, and I think that's something that could be done maybe in an episode, or maybe even like half an episode or something like that, and see from there where he goes on to like his next mission there with Luthen. I think that Luthen's actually going to play some type of part with helping him actually break out of this Imperial prison, and that's why he's going to meet back up with Luthen there as well. I think that's perfectly executed and even laid out properly. Anyway, talking a little bit more here about this episode, episode 7, instead of, you know, future episodes here yet to come here with the Andor show. This episode focused quite a bit with Luthen and Mon Mothma here, and those regards of like Luthen's like low-key losing it. He's going a little bit crazy here with his entire plan here of what the rebellion is going to be here, and I'm looking forward to also seeing him finally meet up with Saw Gerrera. I also think that's something that's going to be seen in the next couple of episodes, but I'll be talking about that in a separate future video here on the channel here as well. It's very interesting to see like Mon Mothma like innocent reaction to like his actions. Like, he's the one that caused this whole like thing on Aldhani here with the garrison and everything like that, and she's kind of like figuring it out. I mean, all she's really been doing is supplying this money and funding here to this rebellion, knowing full well like it's a rebellion and that some people might get hurt, some people might get killed with these different consequences of what Luthen's overall plan here is that he's trying to accomplish and do here at the same time. Also mentioning here at the same time, this isn't like the only bit of the rebellion here seen throughout the entirety of the Star Wars galaxy during this point in time here in the Star Wars universe. There's different little pockets of the rebellion, and they don't even like really know about each other all that much, so I think that this whole incident on Aldhani is going to really help get that word out there much rather, and even really help like, I guess, like connect these different tribes or pockets of the rebellions even better, I think, at that. This whole scene right here of where we find Luthen's assistant here that works at the little like pawn shop there, the relics shop there, going in to meet up with Vel from the Aldhani mission there, it honestly took way too long. I think that they could have like done something a little bit shorter with that. It built up suspense and everything like that she might still be on board and, you know, be seen in future episodes and everything like that. Same thing about how they like simply mentioned Cinta and like what she's doing. She's still on Aldhani. All they really show is that, you know, she looks up at this Star Destroyer in the sky and gets on a speeder and like speeds away somewhere. I don't know where, why, or anything like that. I want them to provide more context at that. If they were going to, you know, like not do anything with Cinta's character or anything like that, then why bother show any of that? I think they simply could have just left her like the way that we saw her at the end of the previous episode of where she's at the Imperial officers, you know, base there, the garrison, and like just kind of like walking down to the fire type of thing, kind of letting like us fans to kind of decide like what her fate is, what happens to her after that. I think this does like provide more, I guess, closure at that, but it feels kind of like useless unless they're going to bring back, well, for one thing, Vel's character and also Cinta's character here as well to play some type of role here in the future. I think that they're going to end up teaming back up with Luthen at some point in time here as well with the future of the rebellion. From there, we have Cassian going back to his homeworld of Ferrix to meet with his mother-like figure, Marva, and he's telling her about the whole mission, that not necessarily like in-depth details or anything like about the Aldhani Aldhani mission. I don't even think that she knows that he was a part of that or anything like that, but he simply tells her that he scored big and has, well, a lot of credits, a lot of, you know, space money, Star Wars credit money, and that they can get out of this dump, they can get off of this world and go find somewhere else, somewhere better. And, you know, from there, Marva agrees with that, but after Cassian leaves to go have a conversation with Bix, his, you know, girlfriend type of person there, and talks a little bit about like what went on and everything like that in those first 3 episodes, he kind of like leaves her, you know, some money, and from there kind of like goes away. I don't really know if we're gonna see Bix anymore in any other future Andor episodes, but it doesn't really feel necessary to really see her appear anywhere else all that much. From there, we have another longer drawn out scene of where we have Mon Mothma meeting with one of her childhood best friends and wants to propose this idea of what the rebellion exactly is and helping her smuggle and fund money to this rebellion, but also kind of like sugarcoating it for this guy. This was an extremely longly drawn out scene here, and it felt unnecessary at points and times. It could have been way shorter, like half the length, and that's honestly my one complaint here about this overall episode, is the pacing felt really off. You have literally the entire episode is very slow paced, you have these longer drawn out scenes and everything like that, and then you go to the end of the episode of where Andor is finally off world, off Ferrix and everything like that. He's on this nice like beach like luxury type of planet here, almost like a Las Vegas in space type of area, which I love that scene because it really makes it feel like, you know, a lot like Star Wars once again. There's aliens and stormtroopers and everything like that, which is honestly really great. No offense to the, you know, previous episodes that really haven't been featuring all that much type of stuff, but that is one complaint I've heard from a lot of other Star Wars fans talk about, is that this, you know, overall show hasn't really felt all that Star Warsy. It doesn't really make you want to go out and watch more Star Wars for some reason, but, you know, you're still liking it, you're still enjoying it type of thing. It feels good, it's a cool, enjoyable show type of thing, but it doesn't feel very Star Warsy because of its lack of, you know, aliens and that type of thing there as well. So seeing that towards the end of the episode was very nice there, of course, as well. Also, talking about the way that they did the clone troopers in this episode with the flashbacks was unexpected entirely. I mentioned this in our reaction video here on the channel to this episode. I thought this, you know, was going to be like primarily a flashback episode and feature a lot more flashbacks, but instead they were like simple, like literally 2 to 3 minute increments, and they did them really interestingly different at the same time there as well, compared to what we have seen previously before in this show and also with the Book of Boba Fett. Normally when we see flashbacks, it's like some type of sequence of where the character is in some type of sleeping trance. For Book of Boba, it was when he was asleep in the Bacta tank, and for when Andor, it was just simply overnight, with the first 3 episodes featuring his early childhood on the planet of Kenari. So the way that they kind of dramatically fade into those like flashbacks of dark times of during the events of Order 66, I believe this would be taking place because, let's face it, clone troopers are a little bit more free mind thinking compared to what, you know, what we've seen in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and they don't have, you know, those types of imperial looking officers following them around and telling them what to do type of thing. So I'm guessing this is taking place after the events of Order 66 and the overall, I guess, engagement and the upbringing of the Galactic Empire. We have another longer drawn out scene. It's kind of like pointless, I feel like, at the same time, of where Marva's essentially explaining that like she's been with the rebellion her entire life at this point, and that she doesn't want to leave this world, you know, Ferrix or anything like that, and she doesn't want to, you know, keep running from them essentially. It's very long, it's very drawn out, and it's very dramatic. It doesn't feel entirely necessary, and from there Cassian says that he's leaving, he said he'll be back type of thing, and that was it. Quickly before we talk about the end of the episode here and everything that went on with that there as well, talking about how Andor was sentenced to 6 years in imperial imprisonment here, the whole meetings between the ISB agents here of the Empire is intriguingly fascinating, but yet like boring because it's not very action-packed or anything like that. But I think the point of it is to show you like how boring the Empire is. Like, they're just so full of themselves essentially. Like, that's what it is. Like, I mean, come on, this entire scene, it's just them being full of themselves, and they capture that perfectly. I mean, every type of like ISB meeting that we've had like this in the previous episodes have been exactly like this. They all have been like just them talking about themselves and talking about, oh, how they're going to go do this and go do that and, you know, do action and that type of thing, but they never get their hands actually dirty. It's never them, so to speak. They're the ones that just sit there in the chair in the circle and just talk type of people, and it's interesting to see that. It's long and drawn out. And I also forgot to mention this guy that we saw at the beginning of the ISB meeting at the beginning of the episode is this guy that we see in like literally every other piece of Star Wars media. He's the, you know, the voiceover guy that we see in Clone Wars, the narrator type of guy that we see in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. He also appears in, of course, the original Star Wars movie and everything like that, so it's very cool. Aside from all that, at the end of the episode, it makes a little bit of a time jump at that, of where we find Cassian on this Las Vegas, very luxurious type of beach world, much reminds me of Scarif, if Scarif was, you know, like an actual nice planet so to kind of like be at, instead of like a imperial, I guess, like just total like takeover type of area, but he's on this like vacation. You know, he took his mom's mother like you know, advice there from Marva, told him to get out of here, go live a life type of thing, and that's exactly what he did. He's taking a little bit of a break. He's had a rough couple of weeks here at this point in time between everything that took place on Ferrix and those first 3 episodes, and then with the whole mission on Aldhani there as well. He deserves a little bit of a break to enjoy himself at that. I mean, this is the kind of like the whole point of the show, is humanizing your characters, and that's exactly what they're doing here. This whole scene right here, however, is very, very important to connecting, you know, the audience to better with these characters in the Star Wars universe, of where you have stereotyping and that type of thing here. Wrongfully being identified and stereotyped here in the Star Wars galaxy relates to the real world and events that have gone on in the real world, and they acknowledge that, and they don't hide around it, they don't beat around the bush or anything like that, they full on acknowledge that. And he even ends up getting imprisoned for the next 6 years for simply doing what? Absolutely nothing. Unfortunately, this is something that does happen in the real world, so to see that Star Wars reflects on that, acknowledges that, and even demonstrates that is quite empowering and very speakingly motivating, I think, in my own thoughts and opinions on what we have here. And the whole thing that's been going on with Kyle Solar's character of Sorrel Karn does the same thing here a lot. It connects us to the real world of working a 9-to-5 type of desk job, something he doesn't want to do quite clearly. This is something that we also saw at the beginning of the episode, of where he was looking for something a little bit more action-packed, something that would be more meaningful at that, of where he could actually make a difference. But instead he's stuck at this stupid, you know, office job, this type of 9-to-5 type of job, of where he feels stuck and trapped. And that can relate to the real world, because many people feel stuck in their boring 9-to-5 jobs that don't have any impact. It's not what they enjoy, it's not what they want to do, it doesn't have any meaning to what they want to do with their lives. So yes, while these 2 end scenes were quite, you know, like a little bit more fast-paced here in my own likings, that's my only like complaint about this, you know, overall episode here, is that the pacing felt a little bit off here at some points in times throughout this episode. Those are the 2 most important scenes for me and the entirety, well, for one thing with this episode, but like this overall show, demonstrating and kind of like reflecting on real world, you know, activities and things that go on in the real world here, while also humanizing your characters there at the same time as well, for your audience and viewers, for us fans, to better connect with these characters and be better immersed into the Star Wars galaxy. Aside from all that, that there concludes like our overall review here about Andor episode 7. It was a great episode, as I had mentioned at the beginning of this video. This has to be like my top, you know, like 3rd rated episode for the entirety of this show. I really liked it. I loved it. It was amazing. It was action-packed at the points and times, but also demonstrated a lot of drama and, you know, character building, world building, that type of thing there as well, while also pushing and moving the story forward and, you know, reflecting on the previous events that have gone on here and the, you know, all the previous episodes that we've had here with the show. So aside from all that, I want all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys all think here about Andor as a show so far. What do you guys think here about the show? What do you guys want to see here with the future of the show? And what do you guys think about this episode specifically here as well? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, may the Force be with you. Have a great one, guys. Peace out.